Right. Todd, thank you so much again for coming on to the podcast. And I'm really excited because I got to watch Moonchild. And to find out that this was one of your earlier films, it just blew my mind away, considering what this whole story was. And I actually loved it.
Wow, thank you. Thank you very much. You know,
How?
we did that movie in 1994,
Yeah.
and I don't know. We wanted to be bigger and be on a grand scale, and we were kind of competing with so many people in the video market at the time that we really wanted it to be something special. And I'm really proud of the way it turned out. You know, I think it's surprising because we had no money and we barely had know-how. You know,
Hmm.
uh, still learning to this day. Every time I'm on a movie set, a day without learning is a wasted day on the set, I like to say. But yeah, those were crazy times. I think we were just too naive and full of youthful energy, and just no one could tell us that we couldn't do it. So we did it.
Yeah, and the movie came, like you said. I mean, the movie was really good in terms of the story, and you actually had two of my all-time favorite things in it. You had werewolves, and you had martial arts action in it. So that's what even made it more mind-blowing, because I'm used to you being this complete horror film director, but I felt like with this, you did something completely different.
You're gonna love my next project if you love action stuff because we've been working on a top secret thing kind of behind the scenes here, and it's been like 3 years we've been kind of trying to put it together. But it's one of those things where it's got lots of martial arts. It's kind of a different thing. It's a throwback to the urban action movies of the '70s. So
Oh,
it's really kind of right up the alley of all the stuff like I grew up with, like Foxy Brown and Dolomite, and it's even got some Rudy Ray Moore stuff in there that I had
oh
that I'd
man,
shot before he passed and stuff. So it's
that's
pretty exciting.
awesome. That is awesome. Oh my God. I see now you just piqued my interest because I'm totally into that stuff also.
It's good stuff. I mean, that shaped who I am as a filmmaker for sure, as an artist, if I can be called that. But it was one of those things where, you know, that era of filmmaking was so special to me, and it delivered on so many things that personally I loved. You know, going to the drive-in every weekend as a kid. I kind of grew up there, and I saw all kinds of stuff. And I remember being particularly interested in the black action genre at the time. And black movies in particular were really at a huge peak in the '70s because you had all the black horror movies and the black action movies, and you had Sid Haig, and you had, you know, Pam Grier, you had Jeannie Bell, you know, of course, Rudy Ray Moore, all these great actors coming up during that time, making these crazy movies in the Philippines, and just such a great, you know, to me personally, it's one of my favorite genres. And it, you know, for a kid, you know, in the suburbs, that was just like the most awesome thing ever, is to watch these
Exactly.
movies. You know,
Exactly. I grew up in the suburbs also in New York, and like right above New York City. And so when I go to the video store and we used to get these movies, I would be so enthralled with it. And then we had our little TV show called Drive-In Movie, and they would play some of these blaxploitation films, and I was like, I had to watch them, hands down, because I had to see what it was like back then. Right before I was into the world, and it's just that genre is so important in the world of cinema.
well, it is, and it really flavors, you know, Moonchild in a way because you know, I also went and watched all the. I remember Sunday nights at the drive-in was Kung Fu night,
Mhm.
and they would play, you know, 3 or 4 kung fu movies back to back, and a lot of those were Shaw Brothers films. And when I was lucky enough to be in San Francisco with the Ghost Hunters from the Sci-Fi Channel, I would do a lot of stuff with them around the country. And I was in San Francisco, and I stayed in Chinatown, and they had a Shaw Brothers cinema still active, and it was almost 24 hours. It's like 20 hours a day they were playing awesome chop socky kick-ass action movies. And so I would go down there and watch those while I was there. And I've been back a few times for that reason, because those movies, the Shaw Brothers and everything, they really touched my soul on
Oh yeah.
what you know, the kind of action that you didn't see in American cinema at the time. And it was so much fun, and it really flavored what we did in Moonchild to an extent, you know, because we were trying to kind of do that kind of. I mean, we didn't have the great choreographers, but we tried our best, you know.
Yeah. So how did you come up with this idea of meshing werewolves and martial arts in a dystopian future? How did this all come about with Moonchild?
It was just kind of happened. I was just brainstorming one night. I love werewolves. It's my favorite monster of all time.
Mine too.
And I've since got to do Bone Hill Road, which is a really good thing for me because I got to do lots of werewolves in that one,
Mhm.
and even a transformation scene, which was pretty hard. But we for Moonchild, we kind of went back and we were like, we were trying to figure out how to bring the werewolves into like a kind of a sci-fi Mad Maxian kind of thing with a little bit of that Roger Corman flair where, like Battle Beyond the Stars, you had all these different kinds of characters. So we had like bounty hunters
Yeah.
and we had crazy, characters. One lady's absolutely, she's got to be some kind of an android or something because the mouth, her mouth opens and a hand comes out and
Oh
grabs this
yeah.
dude's face. And, that was Medusa. And we had all these cool ideas. And, I just sat down and was popping these ideas out of my head and putting them down on paper, just trying to, string them all together. And then the story started unfolding about Jacob Stryker and his son. And not only was he, genetically modified to be a super soldier, but that genetic modification, he had a kid, which they're not supposed to do. And
Yeah.
that kid had completely off the chart genetics. So not only was he a soldier that turned into a werewolf by mixing these genes, but his son could do it too, and his blood could save people. And then I came up with, well, why would they not want him to save people? And then I thought, well, the evil sodality, this evil empire kind of thing, they want to control people. And by keeping people sick and keeping people under the thumb, they could control the population of humans that way. And they don't want anyone to get cured of this stuff, which the sun could do. And then
Right.
little did I realize I was kind of predicting the 2000s, the 2020s. I mean, it's like this really seems to be going on in our world today. It's kind of like the big pharma doesn't want anyone cured. I'm going, what is going on here? So
Who
yeah.
who would have ever thought that?
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, the cast was great too. I mean, Augie Alvarez, this is the first time I've ever heard his name. But a pretty cool name for an actor or a guy, as Jacob himself. What was it like with this cast? I mean, 'cause these are all like basically guys that compared to the cast you usually work with nowadays. What was it like working with this cast?
I absolutely love those people. And the thing was, I still work with Augie to this day on different projects. He and I did the Alamo Draft House. Some of those dates, they did a tour of Moonchild at the Alamo Draft House. They loved the movie and they did a tour and it played at all their theaters in America. And they brought us out to a couple of those and we got to do a Q&A and he was amazed at, and so am I. Really, I'm honored that people are still talking about this movie almost 30 years later. And he's a really good guy. I mean, he's very artistic. On the upcoming Blu-ray release, there's one of his posters he made is in there. We put that inside as one of the extras. It's like the cover of the booklet is his poster that he drew, and he's a great artist and he's a great guy. And I've worked with him on Zombie Bloodbath and on Cannibal Demons, and I worked with him on these movies. And he was such a good guy to work with. Never complained. Always went the extra mile. He would do things, I mean, we stretched him across a car, between two cars doing 45 miles an hour on a fight scene. And I'm laying in the middle of the road. And talk about a dangerous thing to do. The only one that got hurt was me because his foot slipped in one pass, and it flew down and kicked me right in the face at 45 miles an hour.
Oh
And I
wow!
had to, so while we were doing, I finished that series of shots. And while they were setting up for the next series of shots, I ran down the road to the hospital and got stitches under my
Oh,
lip where I had a hole through my face. So I got stitches there while they were setting up the next shots. And then I got back on set, perfect timing. They just finished and we started shooting again. So that's the kind of dedication we all had, and everybody
yes.
believed in it and everyone poured their heart and soul. And these aren't what you would call professionals as far as that. They were professional though. They handled themselves professionally. They took it like it was a completely serious thing, and they dedicated themselves 100%. In the world of cinema, they would call them, unprofessional actors or non-professional actors or non-union or amateur actors, whatever. But they really, you couldn't tell that by being on the set because they poured their entire hearts and souls into this, and none of us took a salary. I've still never taken a salary on any movie to this day. because when you're this low budget, if you take a salary, you've taken away something important from the film. So
Right.
we just all did it and didn't worry about the money. We just worried about doing the best job we could and telling a story.
Now, here's the thing with acting. I mean, you got the people who are calling these, actors who are in these type of movies unprofessional. But let's just face it, sometimes you have like an A-list actor who can pull off a pretty bad performance.
Yes,
But
you do.
but the performances here, I thought, in my opinion, were like 10 times better than an A-list bad performance because I really did feel like they brought out their heart and soul into the performances in Moonchild. Like they really let it out.
I agree with you. I think that the thing is, no one, well, some people do. Some people try to make a bad movie on purpose. But I tell you, if with us, it wasn't that way. We never set out to make a bad movie. We set out to entertain people. And that was the goal of every actor on this set. And if when you get the full package, there's a pretty good documentary behind the scenes from footage we shot and interviews with people. And it's really cool because you can see by watching the documentary how many people were involved and how much love there was, and everyone was trying so hard and doing the best thing that we could to try to entertain people. And these guys were so incredibly professional, incredibly hardworking, incredibly pouring their hearts into it with a lot of love, a lot of passion, and the intent was never money motivated, and that does make a difference. And also, the intent was to entertain you. And these guys really brought these characters to life in ways that, I may sit down by myself in a room and write this stuff, and it's in my head. And then my goal and my job as a director is to get on the set and try to translate what I see in my head because I've seen the whole movie put together. When I'm writing the script, it's almost like I'm looking at a drive-in movie screen and I'm seeing the movie up on that screen, and what I see is what I write. And then I keep it in my head and I get to the set and I have to try to match what's in my head and what I see to what I'm shooting and what I eventually edit and put on screen. And the hardest part is a lot of times, we have no money. So what you're seeing isn't going to translate completely the way you want it. But when it came to the acting, man, they brought all those characters to life and then some. I mean, they really went further than what I thought on some of these characters. And the standouts for me, of course, everybody in the cast, but I really loved the chemistry between Kathleen and Augie. And I really thought that they had this really solid ability to bring those characters even further to life than I imagined they would. So I was really proud of them.
That's awesome. And yeah, you mentioned the fight scenes. They were pretty decent because if you remember back in the 90s B circuit, we had those type of you hit me, I hit you type of thing, compared to Shaw Brothers where they do the shapes and the bashers and stuff like that. But I'd say for what they had, it was actually pretty good. And so did they actually did they train for this film or did any of them actually have a background in martial arts that you know of? And
Well, I think Augie has a little bit of one, but really what we did was we just kind of choreographed it on the set. I mean, I'm still doing that today, except for I had a couple of guys that work with Steve Wang who are part of his stunt team who helped me they were in LA and I was in Kansas City, and they were filming certain little routines and then sending them to me saying, hey, you could try this or hey, you could try that, because I would tell them what the scene was and they would help me a little bit. But when we got on set, we would choreograph that, and we would work it out to the best of our ability. Because like in this thing we just did, this thing, it's an Amazon Prime TV thing, and it's a series, and the lead actress had never done martial arts in her life, but you can't tell it because she really pulled it off. It was all about movement, all about trying to be as fluid as possible, matching things as fluid as possible. And in Moonchild, it was the same way. We basically went through and we kind of looked at things that inspired us, and we would say, during the week I'd maybe watch a fight scene in a movie that I loved, and I'd be like, yeah, this is great, let's go for that. I wouldn't copy it. I would just try to get that kind of fluid energy and try to, all right, we want to do a kick like this and we want to do a backhand here, let's try to make it look as good as this. Sometimes we succeed, sometimes we don't, but the point was we gave it everything to make it look as good as we could. And also you got to realize that we had not a budget hardly at all, so we had to do these costumes and everything. We just all pooled our money together. And also the editing, doing a movie like that back then, I couldn't even afford an edit controller, so I had two Super VHS machines with flying erase heads, and the edit controller for me was the pause button, and I would have to get that timing down perfectly for every cut. And if I messed up, I'd have to go back and do it again, go back and do it. And then if you messed up too much, it messed up the tape, and so then you'd have to start over. And it was, nowadays you got all this software, you got all these things. Back then you didn't have nonlinear editing. We could dump it all to 3/4 or to beta SP, but man, it was that was so expensive even that it was out of our budget. So we literally just did everything on the fly, and the sound effects were on the fly, and the music I could use one track for dubbing music. That's all I had. So it was really a difficult. All of that was done by hand, painstakingly. So that tells you that we really did want to do something good, and to go through all that trouble, we actually pulled it off.
Even the CGI effects when we see Jacob turn into the werewolf was actually pretty cool for what it was.
Yeah, we were, I think, the second movie to ever do morphing. J.R. Bookwalter had done it, and it was pretty cool because they had a program that would do it for the Amiga, but we didn't have an Amiga and we didn't have the stuff. But we were able to wrangle the software, and I talked to some of my friends in LA. I went out there, we tried to do it there, but we didn't have enough time because it was so time consuming, the rendering and everything. And when it turned out it wasn't right, it was too much, the green screen wasn't quite right. So we would have to, so basically I started doing it here, and we had a company here called Cybertech that had a computer big enough to run it, and we put it on there, we did it, and then it still had some matte problems around the guy's head and everything. So I would have to go in and frame by frame, I would touch that stuff up and erase those matte lines and everything. And back then it was difficult. All you had was a clone tool in Photoshop, so you'd have to make a film strip out of it and then take that film strip into Photoshop and do it frame by frame.
Oh wow!
So it was nuts.
and as you mentioned earlier, you Medusa with the hand coming out of the mouth, that was pretty intense. But I like the fact that it was practical, and it was.
Oh yeah.
And how was that achieved?
Well, basically, Mike Hillman was a genius. He was our effects guy along with Paul Van Den Elzen, and together they were unstoppable. You give them a popsicle stick and 25 cents, and they brought you back a monster. It was pretty great. And one of our bounty hunters was all cardboard but you couldn't tell. I mean, they did a good job. And that head, he had done a casting of Carol Barta, who was fantastic, and he made that out of silicone, and we basically went in and at the time that was almost unheard of, but he figured out a way to find a material that was stretchy enough that we could actually stretch a hand through there. And then he did all that in just a couple of days and put that together. The head and shoulders were made out of plaster. The face part was actually the casting of the silicone was the face. And we put her outfit on it and some fake hair, and away we went. And we had pretty much one take because we would stretch it too far, the silicone would rip. And so we had one take, and it worked. Thank goodness.
Well, I gotta say, kudos has to go to Visual Vengeance. I want to personally thank them because these guys are bringing the shot on video films to this new generation. And I have watched a whole bunch of them ever since they came out, and Moonchild is one of the best ones I've seen. And kudos has to go out to them because the fact that they actually are doing this project in terms of bringing the SOV films of yore back to this new generation, I think it's fantastic.
Well, I have to tell you, Rob and I have been friends for a long time. We met at Cinema Wasteland many, many years ago, and he has been the biggest support, and he loves this stuff with all his heart. His office has got like Todd Sheets paraphernalia everywhere. It's crazy. He has more of my stuff than I have. He's got like movie posters, and he's even got this giant head that he had made of me that's like a big mascot head. It's crazy. And he really, really loves this stuff. And I mean, wait till you see what's coming down the pike. We've been working so hard. We got Violent New Breed coming, which is my personal favorite of my older movies. It's got Rudy Ray Moore. You want kung fu action? It's got it. We've got 4 different effects houses that had to work on it. We blow stuff up. We catch dudes on fire. It's probably the most ambitious and largest shot on video movie of that time period ever attempted, just because we were so goofy. We didn't
Yeah.
know better. But lots of cool car wrecks and stuff, and you'll love that one. And we've also got the original that everyone loves, Goblin, is
Oh no.
coming in a brand new remastered. I went back and found the original camera footage and was able to remaster that using the original footage. So you get first generation. Not that it's great, but it's so much better than what you've seen before. We've got
No.
Zombie Rampage. It's coming, and Zombie Rampage is also, I went back and was able to remaster about 80% of it through the original camera masters.
Oh
Another
wow.
thing, it's color corrected. It's beautiful. And also the Zombie Bloodbath Trilogy is coming because it's the 30th year anniversary for that next year. And we've got Cannibal Demons. We've got, man, you name it. All those old movies, we've been working hard behind the scenes to get those remastered and to take the most of the Blu-ray format. We're really pushing the limits of the quality on these because, yeah, these were shot on different forms of video, sometimes 3/4 inch, sometimes they were shot on Super VHS or High 8. But we've taken that stuff and we've been able to really preserve it from the original footage, so it looks pretty darn good.
Did you get
Pretty
to,
darn good.
have you watched any of the visual vengeance titles as of yet, or?
I have. I've got a couple of them. I haven't got a bunch. I've got the what's that the bodybuilder from Hell
Oh yeah,
movie that.
bloody bodybuilder, muscle bodybuilder in hell, aka Japanese Evil Dead.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved everything about it. Now that was Super 8, and then it was transferred to video. But I watched that one, and I watched the Necrophiles one, and I thought that was pretty great.
Nice.
Uh, I'm enjoying all this stuff though. I'm
Yeah,
enjoying the fact that people are finally, able to be entertained. Ultimately, that's all we ever tried to do, man. Because with my
yeah.
childhood,
I've
and
seen.
probably yours,
Yeah. I've seen.
we
Yeah,
go ahead.
I've seen Slaughter Day from
Oh, cool.
which is really cool, and I saw L.A. AIDS Jabber, and I got to interview Drew Gadaris for that one. It was a lot of black, and I will say this, I'm going to be interviewing the star of L.A. AIDS Jabber soon, Jason Magic. We're working something out on that right now, and he's just a great guy. We've just been keeping in touch, and we're going to be doing an interview soon for L.A. AIDS Jabber, which is surprisingly like not even really a horror film. It was more of a thriller, but it was really well done.
Yeah, it is. If you ever want to interview Augie, get a hold of me and I'll try to set that up for you.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it would be cool to interview the Moonchild himself. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, he's got some great stories to tell. He's something else. He's
Oh
a great
yeah,
guy.
we definitely got to make that happen.
Yeah, yeah, because I think you'd it's an eye-opening experience when you talk to Augie. It's really cool. He's done so
Yeah,
much stuff.
yeah. I was talking with Jason Magic not only about Ellie's Age Jabber, but he did a martial arts film in the '90s called The Dangerous Place that
Oh
had
yeah.
Corey Feldman, Marshall Teague from Roadhouse, um, T.J. Roberts. I mean, the movie it's on Tubi, but it's really good. It was like a Lifetime movie meaning a martial arts film, but it was really good. And Jason was in it. And Jason plays like one of the bad guys in it, and like you're just as unhinged in a dangerous place as you were in L.A. AIDS Jabber. And he's like, yeah, that's pretty much the type of role I was used to play. But he's really cool. He's a really cool guy though in real life. It's really cool talking to him. But yeah, we're going to be interviewing soon about L.A. AIDS Jabber, so I can't wait for that one.
Well, I want to thank you for this too, because really, it's guys like you, man, and gals. It's everybody out there who's keeping this stuff alive and who cares about it and who supports it. And if it wasn't for you, number one, no one would know about these releases, and number two, people wouldn't understand maybe the importance of some of these films. And I'm not counting my own, of course, but I'm just saying
Yeah,
a lot of these films are important to me too. And without you guys out there with this love and appreciation of this stuff, people wouldn't really feel like seeing it. I mean, you guys keep it alive, and your enthusiasm keeps people interested. Like, wow, man, this guy loves this movie. Maybe we better watch it. And that helps us so much, man, because even to this day, there's no doing this is very difficult. And I know everyone's got, the iPhone or whatever, but the thing is, you've got to pay back your investors. You're never going to do that nowadays.
yeah,
Everything gets, streamed for 2 cents a view or pirated or, this and that. So the fact that we're still doing this, we really need people like you. And you're a very important part of the equation, as important as the cast, the crew, the director, you guys are also that important because you're like, you're like the PR department for this kind of stuff. We just love it. We couldn't do it without you.
That means a lot. That coming from you, that does mean a lot. I mean, and exactly the SOV stuff is exactly what I go for. I love one of the things I love doing is looking for rare like out of print films or films I've never heard of, just to like from the past, just to see like what how it was done, and just to see that, just to show like I'm not gonna like thrash it. I'm gonna look at it with an open mind, where people will like look at it like, oh, why would I watch this? This looks really dumb. But I'm like, why don't you watch it with an open mind? And that's what I do. And if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. Maybe it's it's so bad it's good movie. But I could see if I say Moonchild is one of those ones that I absolutely loved, and I will watch it over and over again.
Man, I appreciate that more than you know. I know that there's talk about maybe I've been approached by someone about doing a Jacob Stryker action figure, and I was like, really? That's just so weird because I don't think of it that way. And I guess they're going to have regular Jacob and werewolf Jacob. So if that pans out, that would be pretty cool because I just feel like
it'd be really cool because we're at an age now where everyone's coming out with legacy sequels like all over the place. I personally could possibly want to see Jacob Stryker return.
There's been talk of that. I've actually got a guy that is a huge Moonchild fan that said he would even help finance it, and we're talking about it. I got a couple of things on my plate first, but there's definitely a chance, a very good chance that Jacob Stryker, I said Stryker. What am I, a bad metal band? Jacob Stryker will come back in the future with some new adventures and something that will. The idea that I've got for it will be pretty shocking. It'll be old school meets new school, and with the technology we have today, and what I've learned on this last project, my God, I think we can blow some minds with a sequel.
If that happens, I'm going to be the first in line, hands down.
You should come and be in it. You should be a part. You should come.
That'd be really good. I might even try to do a fight scene. Who knows? I might
true.
not have that much experience. I know just a little bit, but I might have enough to try my hand at fight choreography. Who knows?
That would be fun. We could do something like that. I love it.
That'd be awesome. So everyone, check out Moonchild. It's coming from Visual Vengeance on October the 11th. If you love werewolves, if you love martial arts, if you love dystopian future films, this is the movie to see. It may be shot on video, but let me tell you, damn it, this is a great film that needs to be seen by the fans. Todd, I can't thank you enough, man. I had a blast talking to you about this movie.
Man, I thank you. I really do. You guys, and you personally, your enthusiasm just touches my heart, man. Thank you so much. And again, thank you, for keeping this stuff alive. I can't wait to talk to you again, man. Let's make it happen.
Let's do it, and let's get that one with Augie coming. I would love to hear his stories on the movie as well. We got to make that happen.
Well, hit me up with an email. I'll send you some links to some other films too.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right. You take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.